All right, with luck, this is now fully functioning. What we're gonna do is a T-molding swap out for this X-Men LE build here that I'm doing. And I thought it'd be fun to continue the series of how at least I make over these games. So that y'all folks at home, little camera and this camera can do it. We'll do it in a live stream format so you guys could follow along fast forward as you wish. So this is stock X-Men Premium Stern Pinball. T-molding's this rubber gasket that runs around. Looks like this, comes in a variety of colors, costs about $1 a foot if you buy it on Amazon. 20 feet is more than enough to do an entire game with probably some left over. So we're going from red to purple here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is remove the existing T-molding, which is not difficult, in fact, at all. Lower camera. Down here at the bottom of the cabinet, if you can see in the smaller camera, is where it meets up. And all you really need to do is just dig in there with your fingernails, get it started, and then this whole thing will just remove. So occasionally I have come across these where there has been a little drop of glue or something in there, but for the most part it removes just like that. And here you have some that's pre-cut for a machine, so if you want to swap this red over, for instance, you can go ahead and do that. I start down from the front corner with the new, and it's really just a matter of press fitting and then tapping it in. I use this nylon hammer to do that, so I don't, if I do hit the cabinet, it's probably not going to do any damage. I start relatively in the center, and it just taps to get it in. Unless you have to do this a ton, it will probably one and done and hold just fine. So the whole trick to this is, because of the T-shaped channel that this has, it won't fold around a radius like these 90-degree corners. So you have to trim it. For that, I use my diagonal cutting pliers. I got myself some Milwaukee's. I invest in some good tools when I tend to keep them around. Now the whole trick to this is just to cut out that T-center at the radius there. I'll grab a piece and demonstrate here the cut that I make. It's essentially a little bit more shallow than a 45, attacking from two different directions. Here we go, I'll take it out and show you. All right. So I kind of measured loosely where I wanted, cut down at a little more shallow than a 45 that way, a little more shallow than a 45 this way. It'll cut that wedge out. And then that's generally enough to make it around there without causing too much issues. So I'll loosely have that lined up. The most accurate spot is when you get to the end and you have to make these two ends meet. But then it's just a couple of taps to secure it. We'll fine tune it here in a bit. And then once I know the ballpark of where the next one's going, we can go ahead and cut that one. We'll go up to the top. Look, it's looking better already. So coming down for that 45 from the top, now that I have it, I can measure from the bottom. And that should be enough to get us right around that radius to the next side. The exposed end that I have, I'll use as my reference. We'll cut in. Now that it's marked, we can pull it back out, trim that bit right there. There we go. Hey, look, Mama, we're doing it. Mama, we're doing it. All right, so that brings us down to the bottom. Same procedure. Cut into that groove, hit it from the other direction. Shallow 45. It's probably about 50 degrees. And then there we go. Let's go down to the bottom now here. All right, meet me down here. So we've wrapped the entire thing around loosely. We got our four corners cut where we need to. This is the only bit that really requires some finesse. We'll trim off that excess. I've got, obviously, let's go down here. Come here, small camera. There we go. So obviously I've got too much down here. So you want to trim it back so it meets perfectly flush, 90 degrees. And that take a little bit of time when I do this part. With the diagonal cutting pliers, it's important to remember that these cut at an angle. So you want to make sure you match that nice 90-degree perpendicularity when you come by. I'll mark it. What I tend to do is trim pretty close but still a little bit long, and then I could just microscopically remove just enough to make it meet up, because you can't make this stuff any longer than it is, but you can always make it shorter. So being mindful of that bevel of your tool, otherwise you'll cut it a diagonal and it won't look as nice. And we want pretty. This is an aesthetic build, right? It's an aesthetic part and an aesthetic upgrade, so aesthetics are our goal. So just like you wouldn't rush a circumcision, you don't really want to rush this too much here. And we're almost there. A couple of trims just to get this flush, and that should be right where we need to be. And then that's it. We'll do the other side, and we'll be finito. Finito Mussolini. All right, that looks pretty good. Yeah, all right, so that meets up. If you're off a little bit, like millimeters, you can go and stretch a little bit as you move it around. All right, nylon mallet. That looks really good, actually. I like how that came out. So now, we're at the finish, okay, of this. Running your hand along it, you'll feel these tiny little bumps where it's just not quite totally in there. Little finesse with the nylon rubber mallet hammer. Don't have to hit it very hard, just a lot of little taps. Should be able to do it. And that went in. That went in super nice, actually. Quite happy with that $20 upgrade. And then you've fixed the look of your cabinet. Now we're matching that LE behind me with the topper on it. Look at that. Super cool, super easy. This old pinball shop